It is important to briefly set the scene. A 27-year-old Australian woman, Schapelle Corby, landed in Bali for a holiday, only to find 4.2 kilograms of marijuana in her bag upon collection. A nightmare began which is scarcely believable.
The value of marijuana in Indonesia is much lower than in Australia. There was no motive.
Schapelle is a non-drug user with no criminal record. She tested negative for everything.
They refused to weigh her luggage. If it was heavier than when she left, they would have had to release her.
She was illegally interrogated for 9 hours.
They refused to test the drugs for country of origin. If they were Indonesian, they would have had to free her.
They refused to DNA or fingerprint the evidence.
They refused to let her cross-examine customs officers.
They presume guilt and not innocence, another breach of human rights.
They refused to seize CCTV footage from the airport, even when Schapelle begged for it.
They burned the evidence so it could never be used to free her.
The judge had never acquitted anyone in 500 cases.
They talked about sending a warning to other Australians, a clear political intervention.
The 20-year sentence was more than murderers, rapists and terrorists often get.
She will never have kids, never see them play, and will probably die in a filthy cell.
What happened next? While Schapelle Corby deteriorated in a squalid cell, her government clinically managed the political fallout of these events at her terrible expense.
The newsmen spill their poison ink in a well where society drinks and stains and burns and manipulates the way they speak and the way they think. They build her up like a criminal capable of gods, well, and put her down with words reserved for savages who rape and kill.
Judge, jury and executioner, potentially damaging not only Schapelle's legal defences and future hopes for clemency, but defaming her sister Mercedes.
She defended the Indonesian regime and even wrote of Australians, quote, overdosing on compassion, unquote, in a shockingly hostile article. Janet Albrechtsen had been appointed to the ABC board just a matter of weeks earlier by Australian Prime Minister John Howard.
They reported something on the 6 o'clock show, whatever, on the ABC, and they did a rebuttal on it at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, really?
They apologised for their story at 4 o'clock in the morning.
A common method to influence opinion is through repetitive use of damaging terminology. The ABC and the media in general consistently use the term convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby, with its stark connotations and endorsement of the shocking trial.
Convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby. The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
Convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby has...
Convicted Bali drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
Convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby. The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
The convicted drug smuggler Schapelle Corby.
It has orchestrated commercial channels, using subliminal messaging in entertainment broadcasts, engaged in hostile news management, and has censored supportive developments.
Outrageous claims have been exposed for what they are. A desperate grab for ratings at the expense of truth.
As soon as it had been syndicated, they edited the original web page to dilute and hide the original content. But they were caught out by Google. With Schapelle Corby's life in the balance, the ABC had acted directly to tilt the scales against her.
I don't think we should be bringing her home. I mean, sure, she is very sick. I just do not think it's the position of the federal government to be bringing her home.
In undermining Schapelle Corby through a clear campaign of opinion management.
This is possibly one of the most extreme pieces of propaganda, one of the most outrageous pieces of propaganda ever put forth in my experience. And I've investigated a lot of things. I've looked at 9/11, I've looked at the JFK assassinations, I've looked at the Port Arthur massacres and a lot of different things. This really tops the lot.
And the Australian media complaints procedure? This is limited to individual broadcast, which effectively prevents scrutiny of wider and serious issues. And of course, the Complaints Authority itself, a government agency.
Sales game. Why, they ought to be ashamed for running down their nation's own. Prejudice to the chance of a girl coming home. But then for twisting the truth, the media is well known.
Dead Man Can't Sue, the movie. In Australia, dead men cannot sue. Anyone can say anything about the deceased without fear of litigation.
None of us are drug smugglers. We're not in the drug trade, and we stand by that.
When Schapelle Corby's father died in January 2008, it opened the floodgates for an unprecedented flow of smears, fabrications, and outright lies against him.
Never had nothing to do with the bloody man.
All to the detriment of his daughter Schapelle, who to this day languishes in an Indonesian prison.
It's crowded. It's pretty much just a room with mattresses on the floor and a squat toilet with a bucket to shower in. No privacy at all. She could have been your sister, your daughter, your friend, just going on holiday, and this is what happened to her.
Dead Man Can't Sue is based upon the research of the Expendable Project, www.expendable.tv.
Listen,